So earlier this month, sports commentator Stephen A. Smith says he would consider running for president. Well, then came last night's NewsNation town hall, and he might be even more compelled to throw his hat in the ring because President Trump phoned in and said he'd, quote, love to see him run. Chris Cuomo joins me now. You and, I don't know. I was watching that last night.
Created a monster.
Is this how a presidential campaign begins?
Created a monster with this Stephen A. Smith. And
all
the
your
reason
fault.
he resonates, the reason, and Hannity started having him on first. So the reason Stephen A. resonates is there is a complete authenticity to what he knows and doesn't know, and he obviously has no partisan agenda. That's how desperate we are. That a guy who's a legit celebrity, I mean, Stephen A. is as big time a star in sports and really overall media as you're going to find. But people want disruption. They want outsiders. They want people who don't seem like they're part of the establishment. And that's why he's getting pushed that way. I love it for him. I doubt it even ever comes close to happening. But just the appetite is meaningful.
Why do you doubt it even comes close to happening?
Too smart.
He's also got too much
successful.
going on. I mean, he's got a hugely successful career, making a ton of money. Yeah.
And, you know, look, this is what we signed up for. This is the meanest, ugliest, most destructive business on the face of the planet. And why would you expose yourself to that if you're getting the message out that you want to and have the reach? Why would you get involved with this circus that we call party politics? Well,
he's also, as you put it, you know, he's not pretending to be something. You know, he's just straight up, this is what I think. Like it or not, take it or leave it. Chris Cuomo, have a great show. Great job last night.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm Chris Cuomo. Welcome to NewsNation, where right and left come to be reasonable. President Trump is giving or about to give the commencement address at the University of Alabama. We're listening in. I don't see him. Do you see him? No. All right. So once he starts speaking, if he's riffing on something that seems to move the needle about something that matters to the majority of Americans, we'll dip in. But let me just take a moment here and say thank you for last night. It was such a huge night for us. NewsNation put on a town hall that was so legit, thanks to the players and the people in the audience. Our ratings here put us in the running with the other cables. Do you know how amazing that is for a startup? I mean, I'm telling you, I worked at ABC News, I worked at Fox before that, I worked at CNN. That reach is decades in the making. So for us to pop up because of what we were able to pull off last night is extraordinary, literally. It is something that would be very hard to repeat. And the media is not going to tell you about it because they have zero interest in NewsNation disrupting the grip of fringe agendas, right? Everybody's picking sides. We refuse to do it here. We expose the sides, but it doesn't matter because thanks to our sister network, the CW, and X and all the radio stations, we had unprecedented reach. And what matters to me is not just the numbers, but the quality, what people got to experience. We had a full spectrum of political players and perspectives and no food fight. We were just talking about what the administration has done and needs to do now. You know, as O'Reilly said last night, we had 2+ hours that was highly informational, not confrontational. Think about that. Cable, these podcasts, it's all about screaming pundits and extremism. And look, I can get after it with anybody, but that is often just clickbait, gratuitous, and I think, frankly, it's part of the problem. The majority is sick of it. The president was on. He was pressed to explain a number of concerns, and he gave more than usual, addressing common concerns that affect the majority, not fringe interests or culture wars. I have never worked anywhere, almost 30 years, that would take a risk like we did. And my boss even got us a sponsor in Hartford Gold that paid to give us limited commercials. It was the closest to a public service covering politics I've ever been a part of. So thank you. I know we can get past the parties and their agendas. I know NewsNation betting on critical thinking independence is the right bet. And look, I see proof of premise in our new poll with DDHQ. Over 80% of us now believe the two-party system is not effective. It is time to disrupt the system, not to simply break it, but to make something better. So what do you say? Let's get after it. We broke so much ground on the show. I got to bring in better minds to process. Now, one of the answers that popped with me from the president last night during the town hall was whether or not he sees his legacy, if he wants to be known as a great president, that he must find a way to be seen as a unifier, because every great president in our history has been a unifier. Here's what he said. We're very divided, you know this. You want to be remembered as one of the greatest presidents in America. You know our history. Every president who's considered great was seen as a unifier. What do you need to do to be remembered as someone who could bring this country together?
Well, I think I will be a great unifier. That's what I want to be, and it's very important to me. What I have to do is save the country. The country was going down the tubes. This country was in big trouble. You had a border where millions of people were pouring in from jails, from prisons. They were pouring in at levels from mental institutions, gang members, terrorists, and we're getting them out. We got to get them out of their country. I don't know if that's unity or disunity, but I have no choice. You know, some things you have no choice.
See, that's the key. The president says he's not wrong about immigration, okay? With the rest of it, that's up to your opinion. But he doesn't know if it's unity or disunity, what he's doing. And that is a distinction with a difference. And it's the difference between capturing the imagination and giving the American people a reason to believe in something as a common concern, as a collective, as a country, as opposed to finding ways to divide and conquer. Advancement versus advantage, mere advantage. So let's discuss what it meant and what we now understand about where we need to be and where we think we're going, okay? Two men who both know President Trump personally and professionally. We have Trump's former White House chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney, and someone who not only spent years covering the president, but had a very long friendship with him, Geraldo Rivera. It's good to have you both. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
So, Geraldo, what do you make of that? I don't know if it's unity or disunity, but this is what I have to do. When you hear President Trump and him articulating his understanding of this bar of greatness as a president, which is someone who brought the country together in some way, do you think he gets it, and do you think he can do it?
I don't think unity is in his golf bag. I really don't sense, I don't get that vibe from him almost ever, even going back to the day. He always seemed to me to want to win, to have his chin out. Last night, though, I thought he was very gracious. I thought that he was enormously self-satisfied. He recited all the polls that showed him losing and said they were fake news. He's sublimely confident, seems to me, despite everything, despite the stock market, despite the tariff and everything else. To me, I think you did a great job, first of all. I think I congratulate you. You were, a host in the greatest sense of the word. You welcomed O'Reilly and Stephen Smith to the program. You gave everyone a fair shot to make their point. I thought that you did an excellent job. I even think that you joke about the president hanging up on you in the first minute when he didn't pick up the line immediately was also pretty funny. But I tell you, as I watched the whole thing, and it was great to see O'Reilly back in his prime form also, and he has an excellent relationship, long time, also with President Trump. But as you indicated with Elizabeth Vargas at the very, very top, at the end of her show, it leads into this one. The person who stole the limelight wasn't the great president or the commentators. It was Stephen A. Smith. And I thought that the reason he became such a marker was that the president, because he can be a really great guy. The friendship that people have with him over decades is an indication. I mean, he may always want to win, but he's a good guy about it. And when you asked, or O'Reilly actually, about Stephen A. Smith as a real candidate for president. It was hilarious what he said.
Smith may run for president, as you know. Do you have any advice for Stephen A? If he launches the run?
No, Stephen A. He's a good guy. He's a smart guy. I love watching him. He's got great entertainment skills, which is very important. People watch him. You know, a lot of these Democrats I watch, I say they have no chance. I've been pretty good at picking people and picking candidates, and I will tell you, I'd love to see him run.
He picked me as number 2 on Celebrity Apprentice. So I think he knows a celebrity winner when he sees one.
Hey, look, he knows talent. He knows what the people want, right? So, Mick, look, I mean, we've all lived this, right, for so many lifetimes, the 3 people on this screen right now. But, people didn't understand. It bothered them that Trump seemed to cheapen what politics was about and that he was making it so commoditized. But that's what politics is, and that's why he beat everybody at their own game. You can argue the merits of it. You can argue the policies for sure. But when you heard him last night, you and I both know he was not going to admit to ever having made a mistake. He said to me that he would not ask God for forgiveness for anything because he doesn't have anything. He told me that he gets investigated by the IRS because he's such a Christian. These are the kinds of things he says. But do you think it gives him the ability to make the changes he has to make now to get us to a better place?
Yeah, that was my favorite part of the whole thing last night, was when you asked him if he'd ever made any mistakes. I'm sitting there watching going, I know exactly what the answer to this question is going to be. He simply, he won't admit it. It's the power of positive thinking. That's what he's raised on, right? Keep in mind, if he's at a meeting and he hears, bad news, bad news, bad news, good news, bad news, bad news, bad news, he's going to remember the good news and then relay that, if that's stuff that lines up with his vision and so forth. Listen, you asked the exact right question about legacy. And I know it's early in the second term, but it's still the right thing to ask any president, which is, what is your legacy? Can you be a unifier? And you're right, great presidents unify. Is he? No, he's not yet, but he does have the ability to do that. He's got an issue on immigration that, deporting criminals. 85, 90% of people probably support that, and I worry about the 10% who don't. I think he's got a chance to do it on issues like government efficiency and fraud. That's something we could all get behind. He hasn't done it yet, but he can. And he's got and Geraldo knows this. You guys both know this. You know him longer than I have. He's got the personality to do it. He's a likable guy. You don't get to be as successful as he is and not have that ability to sort of to have people like you. There's a charisma there. He's a billionaire man of the people, which stuns me because I'm never going to be either one of those two things. And he's got the skill set necessary to do it. But he's always won in politics by dividing and conquering. And the question is, can he switch from Donald Trump, the campaigner, to Donald Trump, the great president that he wants to be?
We did see something just now, Geraldo. We knew that he wasn't going to get rid of Hegseth because he's not going to give the media what they want, right? And he hasn't screwed anything up that actually matters to Trump, right? And if he had been on Signal with you and me and Hegseth was bashing Trump, then he would have fired him. But moving Mike Waltz is interesting. It makes it seem like maybe the criticism did bother him. Maybe he just waited for a moment and then figured out what to do, knew he couldn't get rid of Hegseth because it would mean too much to the media, so he moved on the guy they don't know as well.
I agree with your analysis in terms of Mike Waltz. But to me, the big loser in Signalgate isn't Hegseth or Waltz. It's Elise Stefanik, the New York upstate Republican congresswoman who had the plush job as ambassador to the United Nations with its big penthouse apartment and, you get all the elegance of the diplomatic world. Now she has to stay in Washington because Mike Johnson and the Republicans don't have enough Republican congresspeople to spare. So they need her vote. So she lost a great job as UN ambassador. So they saw her an opportunity. There's a good place for Mike Waltz to move with dignity. He doesn't, even though he gave out the Atlantic guy, put him on the chat, he doesn't lose face. Mike Waltz, he was the NSA. Now he's ambassador to the United Nations. It's pretty good. Pretty good cushion there, corporate parachute, seems to me, Chris.
Yeah, the problem is NSA matters a lot more than UN ambassador in this administration. And
Yeah.
I don't know who they're going to get in there because it's not like he's overwhelmed with high qualified people, Mick. So, like, what happens now?
Yeah, there's a couple names. Witkoff's name comes up. Mark Grinnell's name is still floating out there.
Wait,
But
hold on a
look, this
second.
is-
Hold on. Steve Witkoff for national security chief? He's a real estate
heard-
developer.
Again, you asked me what names are out there that he's looking at. That's one of them. I think Grinnell probably would be the more qualified of the two. But
Right.
Trump likes Witkoff. He's got a couple of successes. Not as many as they want, but it's not unreasonable in this environment to think of Witkoff as coming in to the White House. But I think the real difficulty here was not the use of Signal. Signal's actually fairly secure. My former NSC team will only deal with me today on Signal. They won't use WhatsApp. They won't use Apple because Signal's fairly secure. The difficulty was including that reporter, and that is a minor league move. You cannot fail at something this important at this level. Trump had to replace him. I put my old chief of staff hat on. I would have had to walk in, and I like Mike. I mean, it would give me no pleasure to do this, but you got to walk in and say, Mike, I'm sorry, but we need your resignation today. You got to go. Here's the part of this that I think people are missing, is that they moved him now to the UN. That is a Senate-confirmed position, which means that by accident, the Democrats are now going to have a chance to do the investigation into so-called Signalgate that they weren't able to get. And they're going to be able to drill down in this for months and months. And if they find anything, there'll be this slow drip of leaks out of the Senate office. And what you'll have is a problem for the other folks who are on that thread, including Hegseth.
Well, but it also sucks because it's a distraction from anything that matters to the majority. Look, if the operation had been screwed up, I'd be with them, okay? If they had given information that got men and women killed or screwed up the operation or exposed sources and methods, it'd be different. But it's really, going after a crime with no victim as far as I'm concerned. So I called the president when he got shot in the head,
Mr.
right?
President.
And so I reached out just to say, I hope you're all right. I hope your family's dealing with this okay. I couldn't believe that, I don't know what I would have done if that was a member of my family, in terms of even letting him stay in the race. I mean, it was so close. And the way he handled it was so impressive to me. Even Geraldo, who, I love like an uncle, would not know where I was right now, Mick, if that had happened to me. I'd still be hiding in a way where I wouldn't even want him to know where I was. That's how scared I would be. And I called and I said, listen, I don't like the way that I'm embarrassed by how the media is covering this, saying it was only a nick in the ear and maybe it was just glass. It was such BS what was going on. And he said, thanks. I appreciated the call. I respect your family. I got crushed online for it, Geraldo, of people basically saying I gave a hug to Hitler.
Man, if you can't appreciate courage under fire, then shame on you. I thought that was Trump's finest moment. I was so proud of him, proud of every minute I ever spent with him. The way that he responded with such a noble grace, and such courage and dignity. And for you to reach out, especially because you and I are that kind of schmaltzy kind of personalities. That's the highest honor we have, is when we say, I care about this as if I was a member of my own family. This is a terrible thing, and how you feel about it. Of course you would reach out, and you of all people, Chris. I think that criticism is very ill-founded, and good on you for giving him some props. The funniest thing, I just have to say quickly, that the funniest thing about Trump here is that when asked whether he made any mistakes, as you said earlier, he said no. When Kamala Harris said the same thing during the campaign, she was mocked for it mercilessly. So
Yes.
she can carry it off. Same words, same script. She can't. She failed miserably with it. Trump can throw it back at you every day, all day. Highest ratings in the world. The pollster, my friend John, said I'm at 55%. The world's my oyster. He's a one in a million. But when push came to shove, and the sniper shot him, and but for the grace of God, he would have had a bullet between his eyes. He was magnificent.
And Mick, what people forget is we all know President Trump does not like me. Okay, he takes every opportunity to make it very clear. He wasn't even happy that the guys at NewsNation brought me in. So I get it. I don't want the guy, I'm not like looking for a friendship here. I understand who he is and I know what my job is. And frankly, I don't think the media should be so close to politicians. But we don't respect decency anymore. We see it as weakness. You have to own your opposition. You got to be a nasty prick because negativity is a proxy for insight these days.
One of the things I love about working here, and we had the board come through the Washington office today, as a matter of fact, I had a chance to talk to them privately about this, is that I've always thought, Chris, you're right. I mean, and you and I used to fight when I was in the administration. But when you fight sometimes and then you're, complimentary sometimes, you got more credibility on both sides. If all you do is beat the hell out of somebody every single night, you beat them again tomorrow, what difference does it make? But everybody on this screen right now has said nice things about Donald Trump, and everything on the screen right now has said critical things about Donald Trump. And that's what you get from this network is honest sort of discussion about the issues. You want to watch, the far left stuff and say Trump is Hitler every single night, you know where to go to get that. You want to say, oh my goodness, he can make absolutely no mistakes. He was completely right last night. He's never made a mistake. You know where to go to get that. But if you want to have a credible conversation about how the guy's doing at the job, you come here and you got what you got last night. That's one of the reasons I enjoy working here. So again, thanks for having me.
The one concern that he gave me last night is he said, I got to be nimble. I got to be flexible. I honestly believe that he is backing into these situations with the tariffs and he's reacting in real time. And somebody gave him bad advice to go after everybody all at once and in a big way. And he has now broken something in the markets that I don't think he can fix and I don't think is going to be repaired anytime soon. So he's going to have to admit at some point it went wrong. Nobody's going to believe it's Biden's economy. Nobody's going to believe that. Okay, the numbers tell the story. And if he can't have that humility, we're going to have even bigger problems. All right, I got to jump. Geraldo, I love you and thank you. Mick Mulvaney, always a pleasure. Thank you for being here tonight. 4 minutes and 35 seconds. Coming up, you heard the president last night say, I haven't made any mistakes. That's him. 100 days, mistake-free. God bless him. I can't go 100 seconds. Another Trump-appointed judge says he did make a mistake. You can't use a law that is based on invasions from inimical countries in 1798 to deport illegal migrants today. Now, is the judge right? Alan Dershowitz is someone who has taught me so much, and I want to bring him in to give us an education in how this case goes. And we're watching, you just saw on the screen, the president's not speaking at Alabama yet. So that's the football coach. So when he's there, if there's anything there after Nick Saban, we'll go. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.